Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome back. I'm Jeannie, and as soon as I saw this new dip from Designer Dips, I knew I had to use it immediately because it is such a fun summertime dip. So this is Arcade Party. It released maybe a week or two ago, fairly recently, but just look at it. So it's like a milky white base and it has all these neon matte glitters in it. So blue and orange and pink and purple and yellow and just so fun. And as an added bonus, it glows. But I forced myself not to do just a one color mani, so I'm going to pair it with Bali and Fiji from the main line. These are some older colors, and the shimmers in here are just gorgeous. So I think they're going to pair together really beautifully just to create this really fun summertime mani. I'm going to be starting with Arcade Party, and it's going to go on my middle finger and ring finger, but like I said, I really wanted to do it on all fingers, but I wanted to show that you could pair it with so many other different colors, just because there are so many glitter colors in here. It's just so fun. But anyway, since these glitters in here are like matte glitters, I'm going to treat this like I do a solid, which is why I'm starting with this first. Because the other colors I'm using are heavy shimmers. I'm going to do my two dips of Arcade Party first, cap and clear, activate, and then I will move on to the shimmers because I don't want to contaminate this with any of those shimmers. So for my first layer, I'm pouring over, although this isn't a super chunky glitter. So this does have a bunch of hex glitters in here, but they're like medium and small hex glitter pieces. They're not any really super large ones, which makes it a bit easier to use. And you can see for my first layer, because I poured over, I don't pick up a lot of those glitter pieces, which is my preference because I don't want my layers to be too thick. So I'm not really concerned about it until I get to my second layer when I want to pick up more of those glitter pieces. But either way, it's such a fun dip. Now for my second layer, I want to lay my finger flat into the glitter to pick up the most amount of pieces. So I just went ahead and poured my whole jar into my Chaos gem mold, and I'm shaking it just to bring more of those glitters to the surface. Because the glitters are heavier, they tend to sink. So if you shake your jar or whatever container you have it in, or if you kind of tap it against the table, that's going to bring them to the surface. And you want to make sure to do that, especially if you want to pick up the most amount of glitter pieces. Because when you're pouring over, they don't really stick to the nail, but when you lay your finger flat in, that's when you get the most amount of coverage. So I'm going ahead and applying a thin, even layer of dip base to my entire nail. Oh, and by the way, I am using my Designer Dips dip liquids. And you can see I just laid my finger flat in and I'm picking up more of those glitter pieces. Some are kind of hanging half off the nail, half on. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up my cuticle area and remove any that are hanging off, or I may tuck it in a little bit to make sure that it's fully on my nail. And then it was a little bit wet because I used a little excess dip base. So I just went ahead and dipped in again just to absorb that dip base. So here's how it's looking. And I will say I am happy with that coverage. However, there were some places for both my nails where I wanted a little more coverage. I'd say don't be afraid just to do a little glitter placement. It's super easy to do and it gets you the look that you want. I feel like a lot of times there are a lot of questions on how do I get my glitter to look a certain way, or how did you get your glitter to look this way? It's definitely a lot of times glitter placement because there may be some bare spots where I just want a little bit more, or I may not pick up as many as I want. And glitter placement is the easiest way to kind of determine how you want your glitters to look. And it's really quick and easy to do. So I definitely recommend doing a little glitter placement if you're not happy with how it looks just straight dipping or laying in. So let me show you how I do my glitter placement, and I will be using my dip base. So this is an air dry, so I do have to move a little bit quicker. And for the Designer Dips dip base, it is a bit of a faster dry, but you'll see regardless, I have plenty of time to do this. So because I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted to place the glitters, I decided to just put the dip base on my entire nail. I'm using my precision tool. I dipped it into that wet dip base. That's going to help pick up the individual glitter pieces. And then I want to pick up certain colors because I want to make sure that I have enough color all over my nail. I wanted more color as much as possible. So I'm kind of picking what colors I want in the areas I want it. And then once I find that glitter piece, I'll pick that up using my precision tool. And each time I place it down, it's kind of getting into that wet dip base again, so I can pick up my next piece. Because I want to make sure like I don't have like a concentrated area of one color. I want to make sure that I have like a good even, I guess, distribution of the color on my nail. And of course I want as much color as possible. So when I'm happy with the amount of glitter and the amount of colors, then I'll stop and move on to my ring finger. But it's really how you want it to look. I didn't want it to be like too packed full of glitters. So I just want to make sure that it's kind of evenly covered. At least that's how I wanted my finger to look. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to go ahead and cap these nails in clear before I move on to my other colors. Because these are matte nails, I want to make sure that I don't contaminate them with any of the shimmers from the other two colors. So I've got my CN Designer Dips Ultra Clear 2020. I have a huge jar of this. I think it's like maybe a 3 ounce or a 4 ounce even. It's a pretty large jar of it, but I split it into two smaller jars. So I've got my clear for my glitters and my clear for my solids, and that way if I get any stray glitters in my clear, I'm not using it on my solid nails and contaminating my solid nails, because that kind of defeats the purpose of what I'm doing. So I applied just a little bit more dip base than I normally would, just to make sure that my clear is being fully absorbed. And then I also like to kind of pat in after I dip into my clear, just to make sure that it's getting into all the nooks and crannies of that glitter, and also to help it absorb a little bit more into that dip base. So once I finish dipping into the clear, I want to make sure that my dip base is fully dry, because I'm going to use a stiff scrub brush to remove any of that excess clear. And if I start scrubbing and it's not fully dry, I'm going to mess up that dip. So once it's fully dry, I'll make sure that I'm scrubbing with a stiff scrub brush, and then I can activate and then move on to my shimmers. Now that I have Arcade Party activated, I'm going to go ahead and move on to my shimmer. So starting with Bali, I'm going to put that on my pinky. And then for Fiji, I'll do that on my index finger and thumb. Bali is such a beautiful color. So it's a neon light orange, and the shimmers in here are just so gorgeous. I kind of wish I would have done Bali on my thumb as well. Although I am happy with the way the mani turned out. I just don't have enough fingers for these colors, because I wanted to do Arcade Party on more than one finger, because it was just such a fun glitter, and it's the new one and what really inspired this whole mani. So I always struggle with what's the right balance of where to put what color. So I'm happy with the way it turned out, but I wish I had more fingers to use more of these colors. Do you have that struggle as well? I went ahead and capped the rest of my nails in clear, activated and filed and buffed off camera. So here's how the mani's looking. How fun is this? So now we're going to get into my favorite part, which is dip top coat. I'm going to apply one final layer of activator to all my nails because your dip top coat does need activator in order to dry. So I'm going to apply the activator to all my nails, wait a full 2 minutes for the activator to dry before I go in with my dip top coat. For my first layer, I'm applying it in 2 to 3 swipes on each nail. I want to be fairly quick about it in case there's any excess activator on my nail. I want to make sure that I'm not hardening my brush. In between each nail, I'm making sure to wipe my brush on a lint-free wipe. And by the time I'm done with my 5th nail, I'll be ready to go in with my second and final layer of dip top coat. And I know it's ready because the first layer starts looking a little dull and wrinkly. So for my second layer, I can take my time, take a couple more swipes. I also want to make sure that I'm capping my free edge, and I also wipe my brush on a lint-free wipe in between each nail as well for my second layer. As always, I'm going to finish off my mani by rehydrating my cuticles with Scales of a Mermaid. So I'm using my cuticle balm. This is Sunshine Bliss. This was the July limited edition. It did sell out after it released. I haven't heard if she's going to do any small restocks of this or not. So keep an eye out because if she does, you definitely need this one. It's such a great, subtle, fruity scent. You know how I feel about fruity scents. I love them and I want them all. And I love the balms because they're so moisturizing and they absorb in my skin super quickly, so I'm not left feeling greasy. So that pretty much wraps up today's video. But I mean, seriously, how fun is Arcade Party? It is a party in a mani, and the colors you can pair it with are endless because there are so many options. Like I said, I wish I had more fingers so I could pair more colors with this glitter because it is just so fun. But of course, I can't let you leave here without showing you this amazing glow. So I hope this video was helpful and you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue creating content like this, and it also helps YouTube recommend me to others, which helps grow my channel. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I upload content every Monday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.